Cells are the smallest unit of life. There are single-cell organisms and multi-celled organisms like ourselves, made up of trillions of cells. There are all sorts of cells in our bodies and in the bodies of other animals. Cells with long tail-like flagella, like sperm, and cells that branch out to other cells in all sorts of directions, like nerve cells. There are single-celled organisms, like paramecium, that have well-defined shapes, and others, like amoebas, that are constantly changing shapes. But within all these cells lie the complex molecules of life. Cells can be combined to form huge living organisms, such as elephants and giraffes. But the basic biochemical processes of life can only be organized at the cellular level. The biochemical organization of every cell has to be protected from conditions in the external environment that would change or destroy that organization and in the process destroy life. Amazingly, that protection in most living organisms is provided by a two-layer line of molecules, about 1/10,000th the thickness of a sheet of paper. That layer, or line of molecules, which is referred to as either the cell or plasma membrane, is all that stands between the living and non-living worlds. The boundary between the living and non-living world is so fine because while powerful forces in the non-living environment, like waves crashing down on ocean tide pools, the burning heat of the desert sun, and the frigid cold of winter snows, constantly threaten to destroy life, the living world is nevertheless totally dependent on the non-living world for its survival. From the light energy of the sun, the nutrients in soil and seawater, gases in the atmosphere like oxygen and carbon dioxide, and fresh water from sources such as winter runoff. So while the workings of cells have to be protected from forces in the environment that would disturb the organization of life, they also need to allow controlled access to the resources of the environment on which every living organism depends. Cell membranes not only have to provide for the protection of a cell and the controlled exchange of materials between the external environment and a cell, they also have to facilitate processes such as communication between cells, identifying cells in multicellular organisms so they aren't attacked by the organism's defensive antibodies, and allow cells to take on various shapes in order to carry out a variety of activities. While in animals the cell membrane is exposed directly to the external environment, in the cells of certain protists, most bacteria and fungi, and all plants, the cellular membrane is covered by a stiff non-living cell wall. In plant cells, the cell walls are composed of cellulose and other polysaccharides, while in fungal cells, the walls are made up of a modified polysaccharide called chitin. Bacterial cell walls also have a chitin-like framework to which amino acids and other molecules are bound. Mushrooms and plants have cell walls because, unlike animals, they have neither an external or internal skeletal structure to provide support, and must therefore rely on rigid cell walls in order to stand erect. Cell walls are produced by the cells they surround. In plants, vessels filled with a sticky polysaccharide, such as pectin, line up across the middle of dividing cells, eventually fusing together to form a new plasma membrane that separates the new daughter cells from one another. The pectin glues the two daughter cells together and forms what is referred to as the middle lamella. Each daughter cell secretes cellulose through its cellular membrane underneath the middle lamella to form the primary cell wall. Many plants then secrete additional cellulose molecules beneath the primary wall to form a thick secondary cell wall. In some plant cells, the secondary cell wall may become thicker than the rest of the cell. The cells that form tree trunks and branches have these very thick cell walls. These cells are composed almost entirely of cellulose. Without these strong and thick cellulose walls, trees would be incapable of supporting their large loads. Cell walls, in addition to being strong, are also porous to allow the passage of small molecules, such as minerals, amino acids, and sugars, to the cell membrane. Just as in animals, however, it is the cell membrane in plants that actually controls the passage of materials between the cell and its external environment.